You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. Jayden Daniels goes out against Florida, throws for 350, runs for 200, a stat line we'd never seen before in the history of college football. What do you do for an encore? Oh, well, how about go and put up 8 touchdowns, which we've only seen once in the history of the league when Joe Burrow did it back in 2019. Sean, I mean, I keep saying we're running out of superlatives for Jayden Daniels, but I'm guessing you didn't watch the Georgia State game because nobody watched the Georgia State game, but you saw highlights and saw the stat line. At this point through 11 games, what else do you say about what Jayden Daniels is doing right now?
Congratulations. You should be collecting the hardware.
Yeah.
And it's been, I just am trying to, for me, the old school where you throw out your worst score and, that test score.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he's had, where has he had a game where you walked off the field and said that was an embarrassing performance? I don't think he's had one.
Not this year.
And maybe I've missed. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He has not. And I'm always asking, okay, I want to see improvement. Forget the Heisman for one second. Just how is he elevating his play? And he's taken a different step, and that's a step up every single week when I watch. And you're right. I didn't watch the game, but I did go back and watch the touchdowns and the way he went about his business, looked at the stat line. I don't really know what else they want other than maybe 1 loss as opposed to 3. And the sad thing about it is I know it's A&M, and he's going to get a chance to go out and hammer an SEC team and post his score again. And I think it's 11 o'clock game this week, Matty.
Yep.
I believe at 11 o'clock, so you get an early start. And the thing that concerns me here's a Pac-12 guy with I think the other 2 leading candidates for me are both Penix and Bo Nix. And the only thing, as I mentioned, as I've said before, is I'm not saying from your and I standpoint, because I was asked again on my show this week, and I told you last week, he would, if I had a Heisman vote, I'll always wait. I think you owe it to these Heisman guys to go back and watch 5 or 6. If you got a vote, you owe it to them to go back and take a deep dive into all these moments if you have a vote. I think it's your responsibility because this is an important vote. I think it's going to be extremely close. Based on performance by the quarterback alone, the best player consistently in college football has been Jayden Daniels, period. Not talking about where he's getting drafted in the NFL, just every single week. You ask him to do it with his legs, he does. You ask him to get better throwing the deep ball, he does. You ask him to be accurate, pushing 80%. It's uncanny the way he's playing, and it almost feels like he doesn't think you can stop him. It doesn't matter who he's playing. So we can keep talking about it. My whole thing is this, from the voter's standpoint, there are going to be some, because it's got lost in the shuffle with the losses, even though it's a power program like LSU, that won't even go and look a lot. Why? Oh, they got 3 losses. He's out. They'll automatically eliminate him, regardless of what Vegas odds say. I'm just telling you, Matty, from guys I've talked to in the past for other people that do have votes, and I'm not one of them. But I can tell you that if Penix or Bo Nix go and throw Matty, when does the voting end for the Heisman? When do they got to have their votes in by?
I think it's Monday, the 4th.
Right. Okay. So it's the Monday. Like I thought it was Monday or Tuesday before the ceremony, which is that following Saturday, correct? Or is it 2 weeks after that?
It's the following Saturday. So the voting ends on the 4th, and the ceremony is Saturday the 9th.
There you go. Okay. So for me, if let's say Penix and Bo Nix, and both of them are huge games because both need to win. Oregon loses, they're out against Oregon State. They don't got a shot at the 4. And if Washington loses, and then they realize that if you're not Oregon and you beat Washington or whoever in the Pac-12 championship, you're still in it. If Washington loses to Washington State, I think that they probably eliminated themselves, depending on what goes on at Alabama and Georgia when they play that whole thing. But they still get signature games because everybody's going to, a lot of people are going to see him. If all of a sudden Penix or Nix go out and do what Jayden Daniels did last week, 30 of 5 of 40, or go 30 of 40 for 400, and they win, the last moment they're going to recognize and what they're going to say is they were in the run, they're a team in the Final Four. It's going to help them, which unfair to Jayden Daniels because the defense and what's happened this year and in the conference they're playing in. But they're also going to get rewarded because the Pac-12 has been a very deep, tough conference. And the whole pub all year long has come from Caleb Williams. So Michael Penix, and he was leading. Then Bo Nix was leading. We've got three different guys in the Pac-12, should I say, that have been the front runner. If Dan and now Jayden, if he goes out and hammers A&M and they do it again, because A&M's got a damn good defense, so that'll be for him. You're going to have some that are going to dismiss the win. He'll be in New York that are going to dismiss him winning because of the 3 losses. Which to me, it doesn't say the Heisman Trophy winner on how many games you win or the best player on the best team. It says who's the best player in college football, and then people will take their criteria from there. He's the best I've seen, and I've watched them all multiple times. But when the voters come down to it, Matty, some are going to resist voting for him because it says 3 losses, not in the hunt for that big-time bowl game, that big-time Heisman moment that we may see from Marvin Harrison Jr. against Michigan this weekend. If I'm Jake, go post your score again and then let it ride. I think he's got a hope that Nix and Penix kind of, a 220-yard game where it's 62%. It's close, a little bit ugly, and then he gets it. But if I was voting, unless somebody blows me out of the water, the leading candidate today for me should be Jayden Daniels. I think he's been college football's most consistent, dominant player this year.
He's been incredible. It's been stunning to watch.
It sure has.
He's going to get this crack at A&M, and obviously you're not far. You're being in Houston. You're not far from there, and certainly the finger on the pulse of what's going on. Sean, what is your thought on this game on Saturday with LSU and Texas A&M? And A&M may be starting their number 3 quarterback, the transfer from Fresno.
Right. My thought is, Matty, regardless of where you're going with Jimbo being gone, if you're Texas A&M, you still want to show up. If you're LSU, 3-loss team, this is a rivalry for them. You're going to get, I know Ohio State and Michigan play at the same time, but if it was me and going about it as a player or a Brian Kelly, I'm treating this as if it's a January 1 bowl game. We're playing in a big bowl game. I would treat it like that because you want that. I know they'll have a bowl game, but you want that feeling of knowing you played against a good defense. And I would imagine most of the guys on the team, and especially on offense and even on defense, are saying, okay, what do we get to gather from this? Although it seems selfish to say, let's go win our guy the Heisman, but teammates want to do that. They do. They want to win. They're not going to sacrifice winning a game for a Heisman, but if I'm Brian Kelly, the guy's playing every snap. We'll put him in position to win. You want to win first because it's your team. But I'm treating it, if I'm the coach, I'm treating it like I want to win the game, and in the process of it, you're going to see Jayden Daniels do everything at his finest. And this is a good defense. So, and for A&M, you're trying to salvage something. You're trying to salvage, some respect because this has gone on for a couple years. This is that Groundhog Day for A&M. They recruit and then they underachieve. And offensively, they've been blah, and it's a chance for them to shine a little bit. But I think their defense will come flying around because they want to prevent a guy from winning a Heisman Trophy on their watch. But I think it's going to be a hell of a football game. High-powered offense for a quarterback versus a defense. They don't want to let him run roughshod over them. So I've got those TVs. I'm going to have this game on because I want to validate what I believe on Jayden Daniels and what we've seen. And A&M obviously is trying to find who the next guy is for them. And some recruits will leave or some players will leave and go somewhere else. But for them, nobody wants to go into a regular season and then an off season and having it where everybody against is, typical A&M. I mean, they're going to have a fresh start with a new coach, and what better way than to put the Heisman Trophy out of the race by preventing him from taking over. I fully expect Daniels to play well, but this is a good test because A&M's defense is good, and they're going to try to find something out about the quarterback. Listen, when Wigman comes back next year, he is the starting quarterback, so a chance for, if it is the third stringer transfer, to go post your score and see what you got for him. But I would expect A&M on the offensive side of the ball to try to shine since it's been an up and down and really, quite frankly, the last couple of years of semi-pathetic offense throwing the football for the most part.
Sean, I got 2 more things. Sean Salisbury is our guest on Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. Y'all give him a follow. There's been this question about the best defense that Jayden will have faced all year, and is it Florida State, is it Alabama, or will it be Texas A&M this weekend? Do you have a thought on which of those 3 would present the biggest challenge and why?
You know what? As far as I've watched A&M a lot because, like you said, the proximity, and we see Alabama all the time. I think for me, I mean, and Slicing and Florida State, their offense and defense has been outstanding. What a bummer for them to lose their quarterback.
Yeah, awful.
I think it's the timing of it as well. The question, to me, I lean towards Alabama just because I always think that they're deeper and more physical. But A&M has played flying around football. It almost has got some, I don't want to demean them like this offensively, but some jets to it where they've got a Super Bowl caliber defense. The offense can't do much, although the offense has been decent at times for A&M. I guess I would probably lean towards Alabama just because we are now seeing who Alabama should have been earlier in the year when they got beat by Texas and Texas put it on them. So probably go Alabama because the depth of physicality, but I love the way A&M flies. So this is not going to be, A&M has quit. It's the end of the year. This is a rivalry game. It's a big game. I think there's something to love about all of them. Florida State always has great team speed. I love the way the front seven runs at A&M. And Alabama, you know how Nick is on the back end. He's a defensive back guy. But their front seven is now flying around. So I'd probably go Alabama first. But there's not a huge gap between the three of them. And when you got him, and I would expect him to see as tough a test as he's seen all year, which will make for even better. He should want that too. So should LSU because it's going to go a long way for him individually. But as a team pride, they run now. I'm telling you, and A&M is physical, a physical defense, and they will hit you. So this will be a test that's in the same category as two teams that still have Final Four aspirations.
Yeah, Sean, A&M was a 4-win team a year ago when LSU went to College Station. They took LSU to the woodshed. I mean, that was
they sure did. LSU will come ready to play. I don't know if they can muster up enough throwing the football, but you know how that goes, Matty. You get your first start at a new school. It's like, damn, you just let it rip, and all of a sudden good things happen. But they are capable because their defense can force turnovers, and they can get you a short field. So I'm not taking this for granted. If I'm LSU's defense, and LSU's defense has had plenty of trouble this year, so you have to look at it like that too, thinking, hell, it's their weakness offense against what is our weakness has been defensively overall versus their strength, hell of a defense, and the strength here, the best quarterback performance in America. I actually think it's a sneaky, really good game, regardless of my love for the rivalry.
Sean, last thing for you. I know you've talked about it a ton there in Houston, but you have a lean on who A&M might or should hire?
I think the names that you're going to hear are going to be, Dan Lanning. Even though I'm talking about guys that'll say, no, I'm not taking it. Lanning,
right.
He's the new Matt Campbell, right? Everybody wants to hire him. I think I would try to interview Lance Leipold from Kansas, even though he says he's not interested. I think that you look at James Madison's got a good. Do you want to go with somebody smaller program? I think Tulane coach Fritz is a phenomenal coach. The question is that too big a jump for some? I'm not saying it is. Not Dan Lanning, but if you go from Tulane to there, although they're phenomenal. If you go from Kansas, even though it's the Big 12, but I think it's not a matter of the jump. It's a matter of great leadership and the ability to get buy-in. Now they're not playing well. But I would interview Deion Sanders because the one thing he does get, even though they don't have enough depth, Matty. We knew this was coming.
Yeah,
they're not deep enough. But he does get buy-in, and he will recruit. I would interview him, and you know what? And so those names, you're going to hear James Franklin's name come up. I guarantee you that. You'll hear those guys. I do love Kansas Lance. I do. I think he's a hell of a coach. I'm going to tell you, if it was me, and I know this is going to bother people. And I'm not saying I like him. He bugs me, as a matter of fact. I think he's arrogant as it gets. But I do know this as a college coach. He's one of the three best in the country, and he ain't even coaching now. Dabo's name's going to come up. I would have to, if you can sift through the crap that he's had in his past and the NFL stuff that might have bothered you, have to interview Urban Meyer. I would call him. You want to win, you want to recruit, and whether you like the way he does his business, I'm with you. But if you're talking about if you do your due diligence and you vet him and you say, as a college guy, I'm good, even though he's had some struggles there at Florida and Ohio State with, some of the stuff off the field, if you want to win and you want to turn it around and you want to get players, but you also want to develop them, there's no better free agent in the country that's not a coach than this guy. So depending on A&M, old school, are they willing to do that? But you know how it gets when you keep losing and you're not winning the way you want to. Every now, and it's going to cost you, and you just paid a guy a lot of money. But I'm going to tell you now, if Urban Meyer gets hired or they interview him and he takes that job, which I don't know if he will, there's going to be more than one that interview him. Texas A&M will be a formidable and competitive team with all is said and done. I didn't mean to keep you so long.
No.
I would interview Urban Meyer. I would interview Dion, and I would try to get to Kansas and Tulane and a bunch of guys that get buy-in on programs that you didn't think you'd get buy-in at. That's the most important for me. Lead the group of men.
Wouldn't that be fascinating?
Yeah.
They got the pocketbook. There is
yes, they do, brother.
No denying that.
Hey, listen, one person's writing $75 million check for Jimbo, I'm sure, and one person can write Urban Meyer's check too. So that gas and oil money's big, brother. We'll see.
He is on Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. Y'all give him a follow. He's the best. Sean, he's with us every Tuesday. We appreciate you, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Hey, happy Thanksgiving, Matty. Thank you, brother.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.